aka the villain of truth, aka the Black Panther of Nigeria, Lamasikapa. Happy weekend, everyone. Today's episode, we are going to be having a discussion about pain, and I'll be waiting for my audience, giving about maybe 6 minutes for them to get notified because I never put any notification there, but I want to notify them about few things. I have great announcements. We want to discuss about pain and the relationship with pain in men and why men undergo pain and how we can actually find solution to pain. That's what today's episode is about. In fact, there are great announcements that I'll be having today. Or maybe before I proceed, let me just give out a few minutes to see if my audience are going to be joining me live. Let me wait for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Show me lights, and then we can proceed on today's conversation. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Oh, I have one person who has shown me like. I haven't even seen. Oh, Rusty. Good day. How are you doing, sir? How are you doing, sir? I hope you had a great day. Yes, today we have a lot we need to discuss, and I have some great news. Okay, okay, no problem. I'm just giving it like I want to give like extra few minutes, maybe 3 minutes more for people who want to join us today. We are going to be discussing few subjects. Some of it has to do with our relationship with pain as men, and our relationship as pain as fathers. What are the pains we go through? These are part of the conversation we are going to be having today. So I want to give the audience a few minutes, those who are going to be joining us live, so they can join and we can proceed on today's conversation. Yeah. Happy weekend to everyone. Thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Why I'm making this conversation, it's raining right now. And maybe the reason, I don't know, maybe we are blessed with a good network, because whenever it's raining, it's kind of impossible for me to speak because the network is going to be breaking and the rest of it. But today it's different. We have 6 people or 8 people joining me live. Please, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, like and share. We are just beginning today's conversation. We're about to start. And we want to be talking about the pain men face and the pain that fathers face, and how can we find solution to the experience of pain. We are also going to touch on the idea of the pain that women also go through. So definitely we are going to be touching on that particular aspect also today. And why those, please, if you are just joining, double tap your screen and show likes. If you're just joining, double tap your screen and show likes. Today's conversation is going to be beautiful. Hopefully, it is. Please, for those of us who are joining us live, try and double tap your screen and show some likes. I would appreciate it, as it actually notifies other people that we are live at the moment. And while you're joining, I should be giving this announcement that by tomorrow, 5 p.m., I and Adiola, what Mr. Adiola, on real estate, we are going to be discussing about real estate in Nigeria, specifically Lagos. We are going to be having that discussion tomorrow by 5 p.m. So I will be setting out a notification. I spoke to him not quite long, and he says by 5 p.m. he's going to be available. So for my African brothers and sisters, for the Black people in the Western world, if you're thinking to invest in Nigeria or in Africa, there are few things we are going to be touching on, and you can be aware so you can invest safely. We are going to touch on those particular subjects. Now, you might be asking, today's sound tends to be a little bit different. I am not speaking like the way I used to speak, Haven't you observed that today's sound tends to be a little bit different? It sounds a little bit good, unlike the past sound we used to have. That's basically because um, Miss Eniron yesterday, Miss Eniron, we spoke and she decided to support the channel. She decided to support us and she decided to support the channel. She reached out privately and she blessed. And while she blessed the channel with some money, I'm like, oh, the best thing we need to do is to make our sound look very good. And so I went to get a different mic. And that's the mic I'm using right now. And hopefully the sound is becoming better. So thank you very much, Miss Eniron, for your support. I really do appreciate, because at least our audience will be able to hear me clearly. Thank you very much. I do appreciate. So I'm just waiting for those who are going to be joining me live. What was the time? Oh, this is okay, 6:46. Most people might be expecting me to be coming live around 7 p.m. I came a little bit earlier. Yeah. Please, for those of us who are joining, try and double tap your screen and show some likes so we can proceed on today's conversation. Please, let's do that. I would really appreciate. I would really appreciate. How is our weekend going? How is our weekend going? What are we doing this weekend? Her. Mr. Rusty is making food, enjoying himself. That's great. Please, those of us who are live, double tap your screen and show some likes so we can proceed on today's conversation. Don't be greedy. Don't be stingy. Or would you prefer we start around 7, 7:30, 8? Oh, good evening, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about pain. The pains men go through, the pain women go through. Why don't we like our women going through pain as men? And what are the pains we experience as men? and the pains we also experience as fathers. Let's talk about this subject today because I think these are part of the things a lot of people do not touch on, and we kind of brush it under. Like men are just supposed to man up and go through pains in life, and it's normal. We have been doing it since the beginning of time. Let's just talk about our experience as men. Let us talk about why we want to protect our women and we don't want them to go through pain. These are what the subject is going to be about today. So please double tap your screen and show me some likes. It helps to notify others that we are live at the moment. Mm? Yeah, we have 13 people joining me live right now. Please double tap your screen, show some likes. Ranjit Gaikwad, hello, how are you doing? Hope you're doing great. Yeah, we have 2 likes at the moment. Please let others try and do the same. I appreciate your support. It notifies every other person that we are live. That said, it's best for what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and it's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside our home. Maliko Sundaya. Abiodun Adebusola says, good evening. Good evening, Abiodun Adebusola. You're welcome, ma. You're welcome, sir. Adebukola Abiodun Adebusola. Busola should be a female. Adebusola Ekrole. Ṣé What do you think about Gautama Buddha and the follower of Buddha? Ranjit, today's conversation would not be going towards that direction. Today's conversation is about the pain men and women go through, the pain men go through as a man and as a father, and why we don't want our women to undergo the same pain, regardless of the fact that women go through some pains. It is inevitable, but there are certain pains men don't want women to go through. Those are what we are going to be discussing today. And when it comes to the idea of Buddha, I really don't know about Gautama. I haven't studied much on Gautama, but I've studied few about the Buddhists. Yeah, we have 3 likes right now. Please, let's just use only 1 minute. Give us a minute so we can see if other people are going to be joining before we proceed on today's conversation. Please, for those of us who are joining live, double tap your screen to show likes. Oh, Abiodun Adebusola, I'm not a female. Okay, you're a male. I'm sorry, oh. I am a Yoruba. I forgot. Let me wear my this thing. I don't like coming on live without showing my cultures. Mm. Rusty says, we can't cry when life gets hard. Unconditional love is only for women, children, and dogs. Ranjit Gaikwad says that as much carbon footprint as we leave our generation, and how much more carbon do we want to leave by having children? Are you a prince? Because I am one. Báwo la ṣe ń kí ọba? Kábíyèsí o, kábíyèsí o, kádé pẹ́ lórí kí bàtà kó pẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀. You are the future king, so I have to greet you. Kábíyèsí o. When a prince comes to your life to join you live stream, it is a great honor. The prince of what state, sir? In Ole King the Great. Ole King. That will be what state? Osun or Ibadan or there's no respect for you, according to Rusty. There is no respect for you if you ain't paid. You are disregarded as a human and you can't complain. We officially begin today's conversation on the pain that men go through. Now, I'm from from Osun. Kábíyèsí o. Long live the king. And see, please, if you see certain things I do, I'm greeting one of the prince in Osun State. And it is an honor to have a prince joining me live. So, thank you very much for joining, Mr. Abiodun Adebusola. With that being said, today we are proceeding on today's conversation. Rusty has actually even given us some insights on the discussion we want to be having. And the discussion is about what pain men actually go through, the pains women go through, and the pains that fathers go through that we do not show to the society, and we man up every single time. So I will start by discussing that what are the relationship with pain and personal growth. Let us talk first today. Let us focus on one thing. What is the relationship with pain and personal growth that men go through? How does pain help men to grow? Let's not focus first on the negative side of it. Let us try and focus on the positive side of it. Rusty says the pain men go through will forever be in our minds because we are perceived as weak if we speak about it. Abiodun Adebusola, dark greetings is for king alone. I understand completely. The greeting is for kings. You are a prince. I am greeting you ahead because a prince would definitely be a king. Except you have elder brothers or first son, and you're not the first son, so you're still a prince. So, Mr. Rusty, and anyone who is joining us, how does pain help men to grow? How does pain help us to grow as people? Let us focus on the positive side. Does pain in the experience of men have any way it makes us grow to be better people? It is easy for us, when we give the definition of pain, everybody sees pain to be a negative thing in the society. The moment you say pain, everyone considers you're saying something that is kind of negative. It's not something we need to share. It's something that is dark. It is something that it kind of kills the spirit. But I think that pain has certain things that it does for men and which it makes us grow. There's a personal growth with pain. Are there anything we think about that we can say that through pain we have been able to do certain things that are good? Ranjit Gaikwad says, I read a few days ago, and if the society and the husband come to know that the woman menopause has begun, then she is exploited. I'm trying to see how it relates to the conversation. Mr. Rusty says that pain helps us grow because we can relate to others when we have had experience ourselves. I think that for me, I would say that pain is seen as a personal growth, more or less like it is a catalyst for men to become who they need to be in life. I think for men to be who they have to be in life, pain is part of the necessary things we have to go through. In fact, show me a man that has not gone through pain in life, and you are going to see that the man has no character. You can never trust a man that has not gone through pain in his life. Mr. Abiodun Adebusola says, without pain, there is no experience. Without experience, there is no knowledge. Absolutely. Absolutely. Rusty is responding to Ranjit Gaikwad. He says, if you love your wife, you would know when she is on her menopause, if she tells you or not. That's true. So back to what we are saying. Are there any individuals we have experienced in our life or men that have not gone through pain in life and we can actually trust? And we can say this guy is a cool guy. And we say that this particular individual, I know that is going to have my back. I know that this person has good character. Can men even build good character without undergoing pain? I believe that pain is a necessary thing that every man has to go through because it does two things for us. It builds our strength and it makes us resilient. Rusty says even Jesus had a life of pain. You see, when it comes to the idea of Jesus Christ going through pain, I think he was actually even showing us example of what the expectation of our life is supposed to be. And when we go through pain, we do not go through pain for ourselves, we go through pain for others. And when we go through pain for others, we use that particular pain to build ourselves. Most of the pain men go through is not basically for themselves. We can't deny the fact that, yes, we do go through pain, and we go through pain also for our own self, but most likely we go through pain for others. And while we go through pain for others, it builds us as men. It makes us have strength, it makes us resilient, and it helps us to have what we call self-discipline so we can handle future difficulties. So sometimes we see some men who cry and they say life is painful, no one cares about men, men are disposable. These are part of the things that I've heard a lot of young men like me talk about. And when I hear those people complain about those things, I think that I see bitterness inside of them. And rather for them to become better people, rather they become the worst version of themselves simply because they ignore the fact that pain is an important thing that men have to go through. In the world of exercise, they say no pain, no gain. That word is specifically made for men, even though it's applicable to women. And how can we show love to the world as men? How can we show that we are competent in our society? How can we show other people that we deserve to be respected when we have not gone through pain? Pain is very essential in the life of men. It is not to be associated with negativity. In fact, I think that pain needs to be celebrated in the affairs of men, not in the affairs, I didn't say in the society. Though we also understand that there's an expectation of a lot of people that men are supposed to go through pain and they say, keep quiet and don't complain. I understand that other part of it. But we have to look at it from the positive light to understand that pain has its positive part in our life as humans or as men. Like I said earlier, it builds our strength, it makes us resilient, it builds us up so we can face the future difficulties. Rusty says pain is simply an emotion. Learning to recognize it and control it is growth, just like with all other emotion. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, there's a distinction between the physical and the emotional pain. And the pain we are actually focusing on is the emotional one. And the emotional one comes like stress, excessive work, excessive difficulties, having anxiety in the place of work, facing the things that you don't feel comfortable with. These are the pains we are actually talking about. Let us see pain as something that is meant to build us up. Then let's look at the other side. On the aspect of women, why is it that men, we do not like women who have undergone through many pain in their life? And you see, when we talk about this particular pain, for example, there are individuals in certain countries. Okay, let's put it this way. When we see a woman who does in Nigeria here, we have what we call three circle. There's what we call three circle. When we see a lady who is driving that same three circle, and we understand the stress among such a job, and you always recognize one thing, that most of the ladies who does difficult job, men kind of stay away from those women. What do we think is the reason why men do not appreciate women who does something that seems to us to be very painful or to be hard or to be very difficult? In fact, I know it's some people who have served in the military, women who have served in the military, and they're like, because I serve in military, most men don't want to get married to me. Is there any reason we think about that when it comes to the idea of women, men do not want women to go through pain? Every opinion is welcome regarding this subject. I am using this opportunity to also learn. There is a belief that pain traumatizes women. In my opinion, there is a belief that pain traumatizes women. How true is it? Is there anyone who has gone through such experience, seeing a woman who has gone through pain? And then we make decision to say that no, we are not. We are not going to associate ourselves with a woman who has gone through many pain. In fact, there were movies that I've watched that talked about tribe in the past. And when we look at those particular tribal conversations, it seems as if men are being worshipped regardless of the scars they have. But for women, it's difficult. It's different, sorry. Rusty says that some women become too hard, face dough, and keep bearers up. Some women become too hard, face dough, face tough, that tough, and keep barriers up. Please, I would also appreciate if you can expatiate on it a little bit so I can have a context to what you're saying. Some women become too hard, face tough, and keep barriers up. What do you mean by barriers? Please, for those of us who are just joining, part of the things we are discussing is about the pain men face and the pain women also go through. At the moment, we're talking about the pain women go through. Why is it that men do not love women who have gone through many pains? When we see a woman who does a very hard labor, men kind of disassociate themselves with that woman. Now, it doesn't mean that the woman would not have few people who are going to admire her, but most people would have admired her if she's not doing such hard labor. So I am asking, what do we think as men that it is part of our reasons as people not to so much? It's like a woman who is going through, who does too many hard labor or stuff like that, they are not so much attractive to men. Are there any reasons that we can come up with to grasp the reason why we actually disassociate ourselves or why we do not appreciate? Yes, we might say, oh, the woman is hardworking and the rest of it. Yes, this woman is very hardworking. We can praise them. I have seen a lot of us praise people like that. But the question is, when it comes to us relating with them and making them our wives, our girlfriends, we kind of don't value them on that sense. Why is it that way? So please, every opinion is needed. We are learning today. Oh, hello, Creed. Thanks for joining. I'm doing great. Please hit the button, the like button also, so people can get notified. I appreciate Thanks for joining. I've been asking question, Mr. Rusty, if you're still there, I would appreciate your answer so you can expatiate on what you have been talking about. Or what you said when you say some women become too hard, face tough, and keep barriers up. Thank you very much, Mr. Creed, for the likes. Hopefully, it notifies other people. Rusty says, when my wife was giving birth, she looked like the spawn of the devil. LOL. Shallow men will be turned away by this. Mr. Rusty, were you there when your wife was put into bed? Because I had a theory about this particular stuff. And I've heard and hear that some men wants to see or wants to be there when their wife are put into bed. Creed says that, hey, I know some women how love to insult me because I am a man, and I get it. Mm. Rusty says, I saw one child born normally, and my other two were C-section. I was there for support, didn't really want to see it. Yeah. There's a theory that they say, and the theory is that there's nothing romantic when a man sees his wife giving birth. In fact, when I had my first son, I was outside the hospital. I took my wife to the hospital. I drove very fast, and when we got to the hospital, they took her in. In fact, I didn't want to hear her noise because her noise was traumatizing me. Creed says, I think it's a thing these days. Yes. That's because I am not from around here, okay? Where are you from, Creed? Are you facing other challenges? Rusty says it's definitely not an image for the wank bank. Is it wank? Is it wank? Rusty is smart today. When he wants to say something, he wants to say something, he knows YouTube are watching. In fact, YouTube might be watching Rusty. You might be saying that guy is on live right now. That guy is on live. Once he writes something, we are going to check it. It was a bit rude. Please expatiate on it. I think when women are going through pain, regardless of the fact that we are the one who make them pregnant, we really don't want to see it. We don't want to see it. My wife giving birth is not an image for future. Self-pleasure, shall we say. In fact, I told my wife, I say, okay, when you are going through, what do they call it? Menstrual cycle, don't tell me. I am aware. Don't tell me. I'm aware. So when it comes to the idea of giving birth, I think, okay, Creed is from Asia. What's going on in Asia? Hope you are doing fine, Creed. When it comes to the idea of when my wife want to put to bed, I really don't want to see it, because for me, I think it's traumatizing. And secondly, it might not make me want to stay with her, because I kind of have a strong memory. As grown up as I am at this stage, I can remember when I was 4 years old vividly. I do not think there are days you can talk to me about that I can't recall. I can recall from my 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years. I can recall many years in my life. So I understand that because of the kind of memory I have, my memory is always clear. And so I'm like, if I witness my wife putting to bed, that memory would not go out of my head. And so rather than me saying I want to have sex, I might not want to have sex anymore. I might not want to associate myself. Not like I hate her, but because I would start sympathizing every single time. And sympathy and empathy can most likely destroy relationship if care is not taken. Rusty says, I went down on my wife when she was on her circle. I didn't realize. Came up a bit red face. Says that's a joke. That must be a joke. I'm trying to understand what Creed is actually saying. Now, I think there's a societal expectations when it comes to women. And part of the societal expectation is that women are not supposed to go through a lot of pressure. And that's why men are always there to protect women. Then it also comes to the fact that I think that the reason why society kind of protect women and we don't want them to go through a lot of pain is basically because we understand that they are nurturers. And because women are nurturers, we want them to take good care of the next generation. And if we are putting them in the position to take care of the next generation, we don't want them to go through so much pain, so they do not how do we put it? They did not shift, make maybe have bitterness inside of them and then instill it in the life of the child. I think that is the perception. You can remember in the Bible, the mother of Job. And the reason why she called him Job was basically because she said she gave birth to him out of pain. And so it's more or less like she gave him a name that looks like a curse. So men, I think instinctively we understand this, that women are not supposed to go through pain. Thank you very much, Creed. I appreciate. Women are not supposed to go through much pain. We are not saying this basically because we want to spoil women or whatever, but it is because we have to also have the understanding of these things. Mr. Rossi says, yes, a thing. Back in the early 60s and 70s in the West, men didn't like to be in the labor room. Now times have changed. Times have not changed. Mr. Rusty, do you think times have changed? Or do you think that it is because of society pressure? You know, most men want to be romantic. It is in today's society that for you to be a man, when you want to get engaged with a woman, they expect you to kneel down with one leg and ask the lady, would you marry me? For me, that is garbage. I will kneel down in the streets, or kneel down Express Junction, or kneel down in shopping mall, kneel down in where? To kneel down and give a woman a ring and tell her that will you marry me? And then she will do like this. Oh, I'm blushing. Oh, I'm blushing. Ooh. Garbage. That's not romantic. That is not romantic. Going to the labor room with your wife, the only reason why I had to go to labor room or go to the hospital with my wife was basically because there were no people that I can say that follow my wife to the hospital. I don't want to experience these things. I think that most of these things are just society pressure. And men, sometimes we conform to society pressure. And when we conform to society pressure, society would most likely use us and dump us. And that is the reason why we feel being dumped. The reason why most men feel being dumped is basically because you think the society uses you because you don't stand your ground. And when you don't stand your ground, you comply with the society expectation. And when you comply with the society expectation, you do not feel appreciated at the end of the day, one way or the other. Maybe it builds you to have strength. Maybe it makes you resilient. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You feel dumped. You feel being used. Creed says maybe, maybe not. Rusty says in the West times have changed. More men are in the labor room. Hey. You see, part of these things that I am actually saying is that sometimes we are not even looking at the effect of what we are doing. We assume we know what we are doing, but we don't know what we are doing. What do I mean by that statement? During the time of our fathers, around 60s and 70s, that Rusty was actually referring to, most of our fathers would have only one woman, maybe one wife, and they most likely might have a side chick, which is two women. Or we say majority of the time you are going to see an average man who is going to have two women, one girlfriend and one wife. Right now, if you look at the society, most men cannot have one woman and one wife. Most of them are just sleeping around with various kind of women. Some of them do not understand why they are doing it, because sometimes when you follow your wife to the labor room, your wife does not look so much attractive to you anymore as time goes on. I am not saying it is bad. I am not saying it is wrong for a man to go in for his woman. Yes, most men can do that. Some men can do that. I don't even think it's most men. Some men can see their wife put to bed and go through the pain and the rest of it. Yet they can endure all those things. And when they come out, it doesn't really traumatize them. But most men are falling under the expectation of the society that we all have to do the same thing. So when it comes to the idea of marriage, for me, I just see it like, I love my wife. I would die for my wife. It's as simple as ABC. I can die for my wife, but I don't have to, approach my wife based off what society has defined that is what love or true love is. Creed says that's a Western thing. Rusty says probably conforming to society, but still times changed because of it. LOL. In a sense, men made it so. That's what Creed is trying to say. Rusty says that the first person to hold my baby other than the midwife was me. As simple as ABC. I want to hold my baby. The moment they give birth to my child, I was there to carry my child. I was there to carry my child, but I wasn't in the hospital to see all those kind of stuff because I have a very strong memory. I have a very, vivid and clear memory. If you talk to me right now, when I go to my bed, everything you've said, even if I wasn't listening to you as we have conversation, when I go to my bed to sleep, I would start recalling everything. I wouldn't miss one single word. So I understand this. If I see my wife put to bed and I am there while she put to bed, nah, I have so much strong memory that it's going to affect our relationship because I wouldn't want to engage with her so much. Rusty says in the Western world or men, the door asks the man if he wants to cut the umbilical cord. In the Western male, the doctors will be asking the man if he wants to cut the umbilical cord of his child between the mother and the child. Those men must be very powerful. That reminds me so that I can ask this question. Mr. Rusty, perhaps you were there when your wife put to bed. Did you have any challenge after you saw her put to bed before you are able to come close to her the second time? Do you have any challenges or it didn't affect you at all? Because when it comes to the aspect of you saying, is it not scissors they will use to cut the umbilical cord? Because the idea is that we want to stick to this woman. When you want to stick to a particular person and you love that person, there are certain things you don't want to see. And for me, I think one of the things I don't want to see is to see my wife go through pain. And for me to be there to witness it, my son will say, Rusty says, I said no because in my head it was being asked if I wanted to cut my baby. Exactly. The man who would do that must be on a different level. He must be in a supreme world, a different mindset. I cannot challenge such an individual. Creed says, my dad is from 60s. My grandfather, WW2. Western, is it Western? My great-grandfather, WW1. What is it? Are they in WWE? World Wrestling Entertainment. So do you have any lessons, Creed, from your grandfather in the 60s about women, about the pain women go through? Rusty says, no challenges. I didn't have my head anywhere near the tunnel when she was giving birth. Let me ask, what I'm actually asking is that World War, World War One, World War Two, that's what you meant. So, Mr. Rusty, when you were to have the second baby, when you start, after she gave birth, when you wanted to start at getting close to your wife, were you having that challenge or were you not experiencing any challenge of what you saw her go through? So I think what I was saying earlier, while I expect the response of Rusty, says I was on as soon as I could. Wow. Applaudissez. Wow. I think Western people, you guys are living on a different dimension. Because when we look at historically, most of our fathers at that particular time, they would go out. In fact, in the Yoruba culture, in our tribe, there are many children they give birth to. There are some children, not many. There are some children they give birth to, and they call those children Bidemi. If Mr. Sola is on live, he most likely would understand what I'm saying. They call those children Bidemi. What is the meaning of Bidemi? Bidemi simply means that you have a child and we give your wife put to bed, but you were not around, and they gave birth to that child awaiting you. Rusty says he feels sorry for the doctor. He sees the winking eye and the head pop out. In a sense, you'll be saying, doctor, be careful how you touch my wife. I don't even want to witness it. If a man is oh Yahweh, do you know who I am? So Yahweh, is it my wife you want to be touching? For me not to experience it, I have to walk away. So I think that in the African perspective, one of the way we see these things are that men shouldn't experience their wife put into bed. And because it's kind of make the woman not to look attractive. It might not be instantly. You might sympathize so much with her that you don't want to engage with her. I think that's African perspective. But when I hear about what Rusty is saying on the Western culture and how they experience things, I think you guys are on a different scale. So I think women shouldn't go through pain. Part of it is because they nurture children. And maybe one of the reasons why men do not nurture children when they are very little is because men's life are very hard, and because it is very hard, they don't want to. Life did not entrust men with children because of the difficulties of life. So, a man who has gone through a hard time, for example, a man who has been traumatized with a lot of hard labor, and he carries a baby, and that baby keeps crying, and he tries to feed the baby, and the baby still keeps crying, and he tries to do everything, and the baby keeps crying. Hopefully he doesn't get upset and he throws the baby on the floor or hits the baby. So nature did not entrust us with that particular path. Nature entrusts the women with that particular side because they go through pain and they are capable of nurturing the children. So Creed is asking, do you think there will be a World War III? I don't think there will be soon. I don't think there will be any World War III soon. They could be. Life is funny. Humans are funny. But I don't think it is soon. The only time we were expecting that World War III would have happened was during the time of Russia, when Russia were fighting the Ukraine. When it initially began, it seems as if care is not taken, things can actually escalate, even due to the threat of Putin. But I don't think that World War III is going to happen soon. Is it possible? I think it is. Yes, Creed says Russia are the good guys. True, Russia are the good guys. Let us stick to the conversation we're having. We need to understand that people can grow from pain to become bitter, or they can become better. There are a few questions I would have loved to ask. why we talk about this subject is that can enduring pain be a critical part of a man's journey to maturity? And I think that we have answered it earlier when we started the conversation, that there is benefit to men going through pain because it makes us tough, it makes us resilient, it makes us have strength, it makes us trustworthy. There is no man who have not gone through pain that you can depend on his character or you can trust. But one of the questions we would have loved to also ask is that does pain help men to develop emotional intelligence and empathy? Do we think that the pain we go through as men make us emotional intelligence and make us empathize with people? Because trust me, in my own experience, I think that some men, when we see other men going through pain that we have actually experienced, we kind of tell them to man up and do it themselves. And it seems as if we are not emotionally intelligent on that part. But when we see women going through struggle and we can help those women, we kind of step forward and we empathize. Do we think that we are, and I'm not saying this is general, I'm just saying majority of the time. Rusty is asking a question. He says, if you had to be the one giving birth, would you want your wife with you to support you? Absolutely not. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. It doesn't have any benefit to me. Maybe because of the way I am, but I do not think most men would want. Some men would do, but most men wouldn't. Because what is she going to do if I'm put into bed? What encouragement? Creed says, for me personally, you need experience to learn and get better and learn from mistakes. So it seems that what Creed is actually saying is that we actually want other men to grow and become better people. So we allow them to go through the hard times also, rather than helping them out in every situation, because we kind of believe they can do it. That is an interesting perspective. The question I was asking is, does pain help men to develop emotional intelligence and empathy? And what Creed is saying, that the pain we go through, kind of, we want other men to go through those pain so that they can be tested and trusted, so that they can be strong, so they can be dependable. Creed says, for me, personally, you need experience. Okay, that's what he said earlier. And Rusty says, giving birth can lead to death. Yes, not as much in these times, but it still happens. True. Women are scared and look for support from the person they are closest to. If that is the case, maybe it depends on the woman and it depends on the man. Maybe it depends on the kind of conversation they've been having before the time when she's put into bed. Do you think, Mr. Rusty, that might also help? You know, sometimes when a woman is pregnant, most men would want to go close to the woman and we want to hear, oh, the baby is kicking. Hope you are doing fine. Hope you are eating fine. This might be one of the things we do, but we are not talking about the the day she's going to put to bed, how she has to be strong. We have not maybe put in that template of how she should be resilient during that time. And then maybe she becomes afraid when she's experiencing such a time in her life. Do you think that if men actually talk to women about these things, it might be able to help them? Creed says, me personally, I will help no matter what. I'm not saying I would not help. Okay, what Creed is actually saying is, on his own perspective, he's going to help men regardless. Regardless. And I applaud your perspective. Sometimes we have to encourage men that they can do it rather than just tell them to go do it. Because sometimes men make life harder for men in a sense that we kind of tell other men that you go do it. And it seems as if we are not receiving support from men to men, but we just ignore ourselves. And then we say we are being used by the society. But mostly men are the ones who are like brothers. And the way you treat somebody else, pass a message to that person, and it says, am I being valued? In fact, this is not about gender war. This is not about genders, but gender has a role to play. And if you cannot be loved by your brothers, by men like you cannot be supported like men by men like you to even say, yes, you are going to go through hard times, and everyone is just leaving you to go through the hard times and telling you we don't care how you want to live. It seems they become bitter. That is exactly what Creed is saying, and I appreciate that perspective. So it simply means that let us try to show support. If we want to be fully emotionally intelligent, let us show that emotional intelligence to other men, not just to women. Rusty says, I think being present in the moment is seen as being present at any time, through the good and the bad, no matter what. Yeah. Now I want to ask a question. Why we move to the next one? Are there good or bad consequences of men suppressing their pain and not seeking for help? I would need the contribution of everyone on this. Are there good or bad consequences of men suppressing their pain and not seeking for help? What are the good or the bad consequences? I don't know. Okay, Creed says bad consequences. That means when men suppress their pain and are not seeking for help from other people, it leads to bad consequence. What are the bad consequences like? Can we describe what the bad consequences are like? Let us give examples of the bad consequences when men are suppressing their pain and they are not seeking for help. What are the bad consequences like? I absolutely agree with Creed that it most likely would have bad consequence. Creed says if they keep it to themselves, it can go a very bad path, like suicide. True. Absolutely true. I so much love having conversations with you guys than coming to teach like I know everything. Because when we have conversations like this, it helps. And that reminds me of something. Creed actually spotted on something that reminds me of something also. I've spoken to certain individuals and I see that they are going through a lot of stuff in life. And the only way they are able to overcome or to be able to stand fit is because they understand that few people care. Visraja, hello, welcome my brother. Please double tap your screen and show love and show me like. Thank you for coming, Visraja. Rusty says that, but if you open up in today's society and you are more than likely to get labeled with a diagnosis, put on medications, told to do therapy, threatened with being put into secure housing. Wow. What Ross is implying is that if you are opened up in today's society, you are more likely to be labeled with a diagnosis, put on medications, told to do therapy. What's your perspective on therapy, Mr. Rusty? I want to hear your perspective on therapy. Have you been to therapy? Do you have friends who have been to therapy? Because there was a time I had a conversation about therapy. And when I had the conversation about therapy, it seems YouTube was offended because my opinion then, and I still stand my ground, that I do not think that therapy is kind of helpful. I'm sorry. That's still my perspective. Maybe I would get convinced. I don't know. Rusty says the moment a man shows any emotion other than what society expects, we are labeled. It is all forced on us to keep people in jobs, keep investors rich, etc. That's true. Creed says, what I think, that's still a Western thing. Because this therapeutic thing, it is just a fact that you are talking to somebody and the person is listening to you and the person is giving you guideline. And I'm like, if you are not careful, therapy will ask you to go under medication. What you actually need is support from your brothers who are going through the same thing as you, who are having the conversations, and who can help you. Most times I think that men are being disconnected from men. And these are the reasons why it helps the government to kind of open different industries to make more money off men who are going through challenges. And all men go through challenges. But Rusty says that therapy helped me, but only to learn how to recognize my behavior and how to try and control it. Chris says they just make money off you. Mr. Rusty, do you think that during the time when you were experiencing or going through the therapy, how are their charges like? How long did it take? And did you think that the money you pay and the result you have, does it worth it? Do you think also that if you were meditating and you have good brothers around you who show you support, do you think that you would have gone for therapy also? I'm asking many questions so I can learn. Creed says it's sickening because most of this money, I think in Nigeria, in Africa, they are beginning to bring in therapy. And I'm like, in Nigeria, you are going to fail. If you bring therapy to Nigeria, that business would never sell. And there's a reason for it. because Nigeria values family. And if you have family that you can share your problem with, your brothers, your uncle, your friends, when you have the people that you can share your problem with, no goddamn man has time to go for therapy when they can discuss with their friends, when they can discuss with their brothers, when they can discuss with a lot of people. What's your perspective, Mr. Rusty? You said therapy helped you to learn how to recognize your behavior and how to try and control it. I'm asking that the money you spent and the results you got, do you think it's worth it? And did you also think that if you have meditated or you are very conscious or meditating, or you have brothers who are having good conversations with you, do you think that you would have most likely gone for the therapy, or it's because of the absence of those things? Mr. Rusty says that using the therapy thought is hard. It is longer journey than just being with the therapist. Using the therapy thought is hard. It is longer journey than just being with the therapist. How long does it take? In your situation, how long does it take? Do you think that those therapists are taking advantage and they are making the situation long? Do you think most of the therapists are kind of extending time so they can collect money from you? Do you see it as a business avenue, or do you think that you needed those time? Like the amount of time they give you, maybe it's going to take 6 months, 3 months, or 1 year. Do you think you needed that long period for you to be able to, experience the best side of the therapy? Creed says, I have tried therapy. It's not at all that worth it. You said it helps a lot. I have tried therapy, so it means it's all worth it. What were you able to discover? Can you give a perspective to what you most likely... Let's not even go there. Okay. Rusty says that the therapy wasn't too long, but the ability to use what was taught in everyday life can take years to fully master. Okay. So I'm asking a question. Please, for those of us who are joining, please show thumbs up. Please do show thumbs up. Double tap your screen to show like, and then join in the conversation. What are your views on therapists for men? Rusty says therapy wasn't too long, but the ability to use what was taught in everyday life can take years to fully master. Chris says no. What I said is it's helpful, but not the solution. Okay. It is helpful, but it is not the solution. The perspective of Creed is that therapy is helpful, but it doesn't bring solution to your problem. Rusty agrees with Creed. He says you are the solution. Therapy, according to Rusty, he says therapy is a guide to how to okay, is a guide to how to deal with life situations. That's what therapy is about. That's interesting. And Creed agrees that it is the solution to the problem. The therapies are just there to give you some guide and help you, but they don't find solution to your problem. Interesting. So in a nutshell, therapy does not bring solution to the issue. And then you have to spend money. Rusty says a guide designed for you personally because everyone has different issues and different requirements are needed. I was asking a question earlier from Mr. Rusty that if you have a friend, if you have good friends around you, and you have good brothers and the people you have loved ones around you, do you think you would have chosen to go to therapy? Or if you had people you could share your issues with, do you think that you wouldn't have gone to therapy because you have those people in your life? Or you think regardless you would have gone for therapy no matter how close you are to people? But never forget that, Rusty, you are an introvert. Do you think if you're an extrovert, you most likely would have discussed more with your friends rather than going for therapy, discuss with your brothers? And even if possible, having this kind of conversation we are having right now on live, because I see Rusty, I see Creed, I see Who the Truth, I see majority of the people, brothers and sisters who join me live. I see us as one family based off the kind of conversations we are having. You remember yesterday we had an issue, we were discussing about something. And what we were discussing about, there's a guy from India who was talking about his wife stuff and the rest of it. Do you think that while we were having that discussion, even though we saw that he was trying to dodge some of the things that we were trying to advise him, you remember that we were saying our own perspective, and our perspective was like, you have to find the solution within yourself. Maybe the lady wasn't the problem. Is it Raivat or Raijat or something like that? The individual, when we were having that conversation, I don't think he's live right now. I would have loved to hear him, and I am yet to hear from him also. Rusty says that family and friends often are the ones to push the person into therapy. Maliko Sondaya. I think they've instilled it into the institution or into the mindset of people that everyone has to go through therapy. The Western culture is kind of interesting, very interesting. Rusty says there's something, they see something wrong but can't fix it, so try get them therapy. Rusty says that people with no family and friends are less likely to seek therapy because they already think nobody cares. People with no family and friends are less likely to seek therapy because already they already think nobody cares. Creed agrees with what I have said earlier regarding the fact that if there's family, Creed says, I just need people like me. It's as simple. Because here's my perspective. Here's how I view it. I think that if we create a society that every single thing we have to do, we have to make money and we have to use money to accomplish those things, we become a slave to money and we will lose relationship as people. And maybe you remember, Mr. Rusty, when we were having these conversations, I think the other day, and we were discussing about how the governments are just making people pay bills and pay bills and pay bills. There are certain things that individuals are supposed to be able to relate that does not cost us money. And the government continuously makes sure that we need money for almost everything. We need money for DSTV, we need money to pay bills, we need money for electricity, we need money to sleep, we need money for bed, we need money for house, we need money for mortgage, we need money for children, we need money for education, we need money. There are a lot of things that we could do with ourselves without necessarily expecting money. Therapy should be that if the society is working fine, I don't even think therapy should be something that they charge you for. But now it has become a business. And according to Creed, it says it was helpful, but it doesn't bring the solution to the problem. And so what is the solution? The solution still lies in between the individual and the society. Paying money to express yourself, how does that bring solution to the problem? Rusty says often we go to therapy not for ourselves, but for those who love us. I need to take honey first so that I can smarten my brain a little bit. For therapy to truly work, you must want it for yourself over anything else. Creed is an introvert. He says, I don't like society personally. Are you antisocial? Mr. Creed, are you antisocial? I know you're not trying to be hateful by saying that I don't like society personally. I think what Mr. Creed is implying to is that I don't like being influenced so much by the society pressure or by the society expectation. I can just see through it. Same thing, my brother. Same thing, Creed. I can see so much. I can see through a lot of things that are going on in society. And I think people cannot live their life today basically because society is kind of designed in a certain way. And for me, I think that society is built to make people continue the mindset of slavery. And the mindset of slavery is the idea that you have to comply with everything that they want you to comply to. It is just like an expectation from the government to the people. And they find every means to make sure you fall in one way or the other. Because earlier this morning, when I was talking about the idea of nature, I'm like, there should be money that you can make in life. And when you make that particular money, you are supposed to have the opportunity to step away from society and to live your life comfortably. Like having farm, like having chickens, like rearing things. These things would take care of themselves. Now, it doesn't mean you are not going to invest money. You would invest money in those things. But after you invest money in something, it doesn't mean you have to continuously spend money and spend money and spend money. For example, I have plantain farms. And in my plantain farm, I just have to plant maybe 5 bunch of plantains, the little ones, and they grow into something else. And they produce for me every single time, every 2 months or every 3 months. They take good care of me and my family. So if people are not seeing through the BS of the society expectations and the things that society actually do to manipulate people to think and act in certain ways, I think there are certain good things about it. I think society kind of have some good side of it, but I think that people are not experiencing full life, full experience of life. They are living life, but they are not experiencing life. And to experience life, you have to flow with the principles and the nature of life because nature nurtures you. But when you fall under the society expectation, it's kind of push you towards a particular direction, and you get exhausted at the end of the day. Rusty says, Creed says society. I think lack of a better word, that's why Creed says so. I can see through what Creed meant. He wasn't saying he hates. I think he even specifically say he doesn't hate society. What he says is that he doesn't like many settings in society, and when you can see through a lot of things, in the society, you can see the manipulation and the tactics and the games. And the game thirst was raining here. Let me wait for my audience to join me back. This is very disappointing. I'm really very sorry, my people. There was someone actually taking this conversation to. I wanted this conversation to head somewhere. There was something I'm expecting. Thank you for coming back. Two people are joining me right now. Yeah. I hope my network is not buffering right now. Yes, I'm back. My network had issues. It's raining here. And because it's raining, the network is always bad whenever it's raining. So I had to put on the other one. So I'm sorry while we're having discussion, this network issue. All right, thank you for your understanding. So Creed, you and I are speaking on the idea that therapy, there's a solution to therapy, and the solution to therapy is the individual. And we also say that we can see through the expectations of the society, and we pull out from too many demands of the society. And therapy is something that also individuals can learn from, but not necessarily to an aspect whereby we are expected to always pay money for everything. There are things we should be able to do as people to ourselves that doesn't have to fall under money. If it is possible for certain individuals to sell their hair or sell oxygen, the government would have been selling oxygen to everybody. And some people do not understand that the reason why they are not experiencing life to the fullest is that the government have actually set an expectation in the society so that they can keep working every single day of their life without having rest. And that is slavery. Slavery is when you don't have your free time, you don't have your freedom. You are always expected to please a certain way. You say, like people pleasing. True, yes, absolutely. You'll be there trying to please the society. And I think that is tough on men, that is tough on people. And most likely, if there's any other way we can perceive things, I think we can do better. So, regardless of what everyone has said about therapy, maybe I would say that the African system is different. Maybe the Asian pattern also are different, and maybe the Western, the reason why it's going for Western that way, it's that maybe it's useful to them. But I don't think if anyone comes to Africa and you say you go into therapy, business, hopefully you have 5 before within 1 year. Maybe you will have 5 people to approach you. Because one of the things I understand is people who have gone to therapies, for example, 2 people who go to therapies for marriage counsel and the rest of it, most likely, I have seen that people who go for therapy in marriages, most times the marriages always end up collapsing. Chris says, ideas don't determine who is right. I do. Absolutely. Most of the couples that I know in my life who had told me that they went for therapy to try and fix the problem, most of them at the end of the day, they always separate. It seems as if there is a spirit in therapists that whenever people go to therapy, husband and wife, for example, whenever they go for therapy, it seems as if that is the moment you can guarantee that they would separate as time goes on. Because they so much see the problem, and rather than both of them to fix the problem, it seems as if someone else has come in. And because someone else have come in into the picture, it kind of magnifies the situation of what is going around them. And because they are now seeing it on a bigger scale, they may think they are in a road where they cannot fix the problem. And at the end of the day, it seems as if they cannot get back to who they used to be as people. Because when they started the relationship was between the man and the woman. The relationship was between both of you. So how come did you get to a particular position that someone is magnifying this? He is asking a question. He says, do you like conditions of society? I absolutely don't appreciate the terms and conditions of society. I think people don't understand the lesson on having individual thoughts and living life. And for you to be able to experience life itself, there's an importance of the knowledge you can pick from certain things and act properly. But there comes a time where you have to be able to think for yourself and make a decision on what you want your life to be like. And trust me, if you are living a fulfilled life, majority of it would not depend on the society expectations. It will be what you want your life to project as. Yes, I know that your vision is intertwined with every other person's own. Chris says, I never signed it. Yeah. I don't think there's any reason for anyone to, to flow with society every single time. You can appreciate its parts. Society has a great part. You can appreciate it. Yes, it does good things. I'm not denying that fact. But I can also see a lot of terrible things about the society. Men and women are supposed to love each other and value each other and be together. That should be between them. But there's also a society expectation of how they are supposed to act, how they are supposed to do things. And then a lot of it is part of the reasons why relationship cannot even last, because people do not have freedom to be able to, live their life anymore. That takes to one of the things I want to say, that men go through some challenges, and there's a pain men go through One of it has to do with being a man, and one of it has to do with being a father, fatherhood. We have heard situations where people talk about being a mother, motherhood, and the rest of it. What are the pains of fatherhood? And how can we find solution to fatherhood? I would specifically say that in fatherhood, there's always a financial pressure. And as a man, society put it on you, or society's expectation is that you must be the primary provider for the children. And you need to show them how to be a man or how to move in life. Creed says it takes a lot to sacrifice, a lot of sacrifice as father. And number one, we have financial pressure. Number two, we have what we call balancing work and family. You must learn to balance work and family. These are part of the things they expect. So regardless of the fact that you're working 24/7, you're trying to provide for the family, people also expect you to have time with the children. And I think that's good, because you need to be able to have time with your families, at least the people who what you have established. These are the reasons why you're struggling or why you are going through what you're going through. But I think that the society is kind of designed that you most likely would not have time with your children or with your family. And that's why they don't teach people how to be rich in schools. Society could teach us a lot of things that we can use to our benefit, not to be under the government. If you see the Chinese right now, in China, they are developing their children from very young age to start practicing, to start making cakes, constructing things, doing a lot of stuff. And I think the same thing is applicable to a lot of places in society. Society will be a better place, because rather than you putting children in the school or in the classroom, just sitting from morning till afternoon, some of them till evening, rather than taking all those time, while away their time, you can use it for something productive. And Chinese kind of find a way to be able to mitigate around this stuff. One of the things that is also affect you as fatherhood is what we call identity struggle. That means from being a man to being a father. I don't know if certain individuals have experienced it, but I did experience identity struggle initially in my marriage, that is, before I had my son. I was asking myself, who would I be to my children? It was very scary as a father, expecting to have a child. And I'm like, I know I have certain negative traits, and I was trying to fix myself. And I think men needs to be aware of this, that when you are expecting to be a father, you are supposed to do certain work. And the work is to make you be the best person you have to be, so you can help those children to navigate life. The creed says that no one is perfect. Absolutely, no one is perfect. But I think sometimes men do not prepare themselves. And sometimes when people are getting married, or when men wants to get married, I always say you have to be the right man to get the right woman. And I also always advocate that a lot of men, when you want to get married to a woman, you need to see the potential of she being a wife and she being a mother. If a woman does not have the potential of being a wife and being a mother, if you are expecting to have a good family, these are part of the things you should be paying attention to. But most men also do not understand that being a husband and being a father is two different things. And you have to prepare. It is easy for you to be a husband, kind of. It is kind of difficult to be a father. And what are the preparations like to be a father? One of the preparations is that you need to learn to be more patient. You need to learn to be more patient with children. And one of the things I'm able to do with my children, for example, is that I kind of have every conversation with my children. You can call it senseless conversations. I talk with my children about anything. And the idea about me talking to them about anything is so that when they are going through challenges in life, they are already used to talking to me every single time on any subject. So they would find it easier to come to me to talk about their issues. So I think men are supposed to pay attention to stuffs like this. And I think that men needs to have what we call open communication with their brothers like them, conversations like the ones we are having right now. Absolutely. Creed says, yes, always be there for them no matter what. Creed says, yes, always be there for them no matter what. These are part of the things that men need to be aware of. We understand the pain we are going through, but we need to also understand that while we are planting things and while we are nurturing our children, we need to be part of their life. I'm not saying it's easy, but we spoke about we going through pain, and pain is part of the things that make us resilient and give us strength. Let us try and also apply that strength in raising the children, because there's a fact that we can't do without experiencing pain as a man. In fact, a woman does not want to associate herself with a man who has not undergone pain or have not been through pain, because pain builds the character of men. And sometimes we have a perspective that it destroys women. But let us also be dedicated to our children. And I think one of the things that men also need to pay attention to is that men need to be able to set what we call realistic expectation when you have a family. We need to be able to have realistic expectation, because in society today, most men are setting up unrealistic expectation with their family, and that becomes frustrating. It becomes frustrating. What do I mean by unrealistic expectation? Sometimes you want to be so rich. You want to do something that is very big in your life that no one has ever done. But if you understand your capacity, don't try to chase things basically because the society is expecting us to have certain things as a man so we can be there for our children. For example, maybe you have the money to be able to afford 2-bedroom flats and you have 4 children. And so you are thinking that you have to have a mansion for your children because society expects you, or people are expecting you, that since you have 4 children, this is what you must have. And so a lot of us begin to destroy ourselves, go through excessive pain just so that we can meet up with those society expectations. I'm not saying we shouldn't meet up with certain things, but I'm saying a lot of us set unrealistic expectations, and those things are part of the things that destroy us as people. And I think at the end of it, I would just say spend quality time with your children. Some people will say spend quality time. with your children, I love to spend quantity. Because quality time is like, okay, you take time with your children and you take them to different places that they can remember you and the rest of it. I think I just want to be in their life at every moment. And I designed my life in a sense that I can always be in the life of my children regardless. In fact, I had a job offer about last 2 weeks, and that offer is in a different state. And that offer, if I work there for 2 years or a year or 2 years, I know what I can gain. In fact, I was going to be paid 600,000. That is more than half a million. I do have time for myself. Creed, I absolutely have time for myself. Absolutely. I have time for myself. Because you are right on an aspect that we need to be able to take good care of our mental health also. You know, there was a time I even came on live and I realized I could not even flow because I've stressed myself so much. And all I needed was to rest, to relax, to invest in myself. So I agree with you 1000% that you need to have time for yourself. Yes, I want to be in the life of my children. I am always, most times, in the life of my children. But I know how to separate the time for myself, the time for my wife, the time for work, and the time for myself. So these things are very important. And time for myself is like I might sit down to meditate, I might sit down to read a book, I might sit down to relax, and I might make a decision to come live and talk to people. And those who love me and those who I love, and we can have conversations like this. I really appreciate. So I think one of the things we have been able to touch on is that some people believe in going for professional help, and professional help is therapy. And before you know, you get into medication if you're not careful. And like I said earlier, I think maybe Rusty is offline. Like I said earlier, therapy would not sell or make money in Africa because we have built family around a lot of things and we care for each other. And I think the same thing can be applicable according to what Creed is saying. With that being said, we come to the end of today's conversation. Let men support men. That's part of the things that Creed has touched on, that let us be empathetic and let us have emotional intelligence. True, medicine is bad. Before you know, they tell you have just for you to relax yourself and, move away from stress, they begin to tell you have to take a pill. There's a pill you are going to take that is going to fix your mind. There's a pill you are going to take that is going to fix your brain. There's a pill you have to take that is going to relax you. And before you know, you get addicted to the pill. And then to come out of that particular pit they've dug for you becomes very difficult. That's more reason why I look at it from, yes, I agree with you. It's all marketing. It's all business. In fact, do you ask yourself a question that when you are speaking to a therapy, do you think what the therapy is thinking is not how much money it wants to make from you? Say your problem, I am just going to give you certain guide, but I'm always interested in the money. You imagine opening up to people, the only thing they are interested in is making money off you. That doesn't make sense. That's irritating. Creed says that the pharmacy makes money of it. These people are cheap. Let us mostly be aware of the society. Let us be aware. Men needs to be aware of the society expectations, and what they build around us. And let us understand that we are worth something. We are worth fighting for ourselves. We are worth having our peace of mind. These are when we have our peace of mind, when we are able to relax ourselves, we don't get bitter at the end of the day. We will be able to flourish with our family. You do not necessarily need to have everything that the society expects you to have to be considered that you have done well with your children. You need to buy a house that has swimming pool. You need to have this. I'm not saying if you have the money, do it. But do not break yourself in trying to do it. And what I mean by that is sometimes we chase money so much that we grow up and our children become strangers to us. And at the end of the day, the people you have been laboring for, you only spend money with them. You only send money to them. You give them money and the rest of it. And you do not understand what is going on in their life. And when they grow up, you have just invested in nothing. They've become a stranger to you. You cannot communicate. You can't have good relationship with your children. Why? Basically because you were there trying to meet up the expectations of the society. Creed agrees and it says exactly. You become an alien to them. Completely. I totally agree with you, sir. Let us be very aware of it. I think with that being said, we have been able to discuss, and hopefully it's going to be helpful to a lot of people. There's a news I'm beginning to hear that a lot of blacks are actually going to be voting for Donald Trump, and that's very exciting for my Western brothers and sisters. Please vote for Donald Trump. I advocate for you to vote for Donald Trump, because if you want your society to be good a little bit, I'm not saying Donald Trump is the savior, but the devil you know is better than an angel you don't know. Kamala Harris is terrible. She's terrible. Everybody can see through it. There's an interview Kamala Harris was having, the latest interview. If maybe after we are done right now, look at the interview Kamala Harris had. This lady was absolutely on something. It's like she's on drugs, or she most likely has taken alcohol. Allegedly. Creed says the blues are all bad. True. Even for the sake of my brothers over there, it is important they take their time. Just vote for Trump, and I think that Trump has done more good things for the black. I'm not saying he has done many, but he has done some good things for the blacks than expecting things from Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, in my view, is terrible. In fact, you're just going for being a president, and they bring you for an interview, and your first interview as Kamala Harris, as the president, you are on something. She's on drugs, allegedly, or she has taken alcohol. Please, the moment we finish this, go and check the interview. Just write on your YouTube, latest interview with Kamala Harris. And you are going to see exactly what this lady looks like, why she's talking. She could not even look up. It looks as if she has that the stuff she has taken, maybe they promised her it's going to make her intelligent, but she has taken something that has dulled her brain. It agrees and it says he has done a lot, he did a lot better than Biden ever did. True. I think if not for the sake of what did they call it? COVID-19, I think Donald Trump would have delivered better. With that being said, we come to the end of today's conversation. I really appreciate you, Brother Creed. I really appreciate your insights on many things today. I absolutely appreciate you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Rusty. Thank you for those who have contributed today. And I appreciate Miss Annie Ron. She was the one who donated money that I could get this mic. And I'm like, I have to get this mic so we can always have good audio. And I hope the difference is there. And we will continuously grow with time. Thank you very much, Creed. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel, like and share. Have a blessed day. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.